Discover the incredible moment a homeless boy's heartwarming request transformed a millionaire's life forever. Leo stood just outside the crowd, his heart pounding against his chest like the rhythm of the jazz band playing in the park. The vibrant downtown Detroit streets buzzed with energy, yet he couldn't shake the weight of each day's struggle as he thought of his sister, Emma, waiting in their makeshift tent behind the school. He clutched the few crumpled bills in his pocket, feeling the crispness of each bill turn to a faded reminder of how little they had. With the sun hanging low, casting a golden hue across the city, he mustered every ounce of courage. He spotted Mr. Thompson, a businessman as renowned for his wealth as he was for his indifference. Leo took a deep breath, remembering Emma's fragile smile. "Mr. Thompson?" He stepped forward, his voice wavering. "Can you help us? Emma, she hasn't eaten today. We just need a meal." Mr. Thompson looked down at Leo, his expression cold and dismissive, a glance as fleeting as a passing car. "There are shelters for people like you," he said, waving Leo off as if he were a pesky fly, missing the boy's desperate eyes that held a plea far deeper than a simple request for food. A pang of heartbreak surged through Leo. This was the indifference that left him cold on the streets. He stepped back, disappointment flooding his heart, but he knew he had to keep Emma safe. As the days rolled on, an economic downturn ignited unrest across the once thriving city. Wealthy families and those relatively untouched by hardship were suddenly facing layoffs, and long lines formed at food banks. The conversations in the community shifted, now questioning the very fabric of success. Mr. Thompson felt the crack in his comfortable world widen. His mind echoed with Leo's simple plea, a plea that gradually gripped his heart. He witnessed other families struggling, too, each story causing a new crack in his long-held conviction about merit and worth. A wave of unease washed over him as he began to understand just how thin the line was between comfort and despair. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Haunted by thoughts of Leo and Emma, Mr. Thompson found himself standing before a crowd at an urgent community meeting. He felt the heat of many eyes, the weight of their collective pain pressing down on him. This was a moment of clarity, a moment where he might just finally reach out to the boy who had shown him the deeper gaps in society, a first step toward understanding and to help bridge those gaps. As desperation lingered in the air, his phone rang, slicing through his thoughts like a knife. Uncertainty clawed at him. Who was calling? What would he decide? Would fear grip him once more, or would he brave the world to change a life that echoed in his heart so profoundly? All around him, the community looked on, hope intertwining with anxious breaths. Would he finally take action? He held the future of Leo and Emma in his hands, yet the call's interruption left all wondering what was next, casting a shadow over change. Mr. Thompson hesitated, his hand still lingering over the phone as he considered the weight of the moment. It wasn't just about his decision anymore, it was about a community, 2 children, and a chance to rewrite a narrative that had been set for far too long. He managed to turn his gaze back to the crowd, the faces lined with worry and hope, waiting for him to show them the way forward. He took a breath, feeling the warm air filled with chatter slowly hush. "I'm sorry, everyone," he began, his voice shaking slightly. "I need to take this call." With that, he stepped back from the gathering and walked a few paces away. The streetlights flickered on, illuminating the tension in his furrowed brows. As he answered, his heart raced. What was he going to say? But all he heard was static on the line. The call cut off, leaving him in silence, accompanied only by the echoes of laughter and music from the gathering. He stood there, motionless, lost in his thoughts. Then it hit him. He was free. This was his moment to change, to respond. Without thinking twice, he turned back to face the crowd. "I want to help. With those words, relief washed over him. It felt liberating to cast aside his previous beliefs. I want to help those who are struggling. The crowd's excitement bubbled up like confetti thrown in celebration, the air transforming from heaviness to electric enthusiasm. Mr. Thompson felt a surge of hope within him, a feeling he thought he had long lost during his years encased in a world of wealth and isolation. His first step was announcing a new initiative right there, a resource hub to connect struggling families with jobs, food, and services. There were murmurs of approval, even shouts of joy. People started to gather ideas, envisioning a community where no one should go hungry, but in the midst of this burgeoning hope, Leo was still standing on the periphery, eyes wide and curious. He hadn't expected Mr. Thompson to change in a matter of seconds. He had witnessed many promises made in empty words before. Was this one different? A cautious optimism fluttered in his chest as he leaned forward, wanting to absorb every detail of this unexpected shift in fate. Thompson's voice resonated as he spoke passionately about collaboration, support, and unity. Leo's mind started racing. What would it mean for Emma? Could this be the break they needed? As the crowd buzzed with excitement, Leo's gaze locked with Mr. Thompson's, and in that fleeting moment, something shifted. The businessman paused, recognition dawning in his eyes. It was Leo, the boy who had dared to ask for help. The realization hung thick in the air, and it drew the boy closer, heart pounding with a mix of hope and fear. But will he follow through? Leo whispered to himself, stealing a glance at Emma, a few feet away, her small frame waiting for news of what might come next. Mr. Thompson cleared his throat, preparing to announce an upcoming meeting. Next week, he said, I want to hear from you all, especially those affected. We'll discuss how to make our community stronger together. The crowd erupted in cheers, but Leo felt a new fear settling in. What if nobody listened? What if the plans fell apart just like before? As the meeting dissolved into excited chatter, Leo couldn't shake his fears. He had pinned so much hope on this one man. Could the millionaire really change his heart for good? Or would this just be another empty promise lost in the chaos of life? With a lingering doubt in his heart, he stepped away, needing to be alone with his thoughts. He couldn't help but wonder if this was truly the start of something better, or merely a flickering light destined to go out. That night, as Leo lay awake in their tent, he stared at the stars, wishing on everyone for a sign. But in those quiet moments, he grappled with an unsettling truth: change is hard, and not everyone is capable of it. He wanted to believe in miracles, but more than that, he wanted to believe in people. Would Mr. Thompson's commitment last? Would his heart actually be open to the community he once ignored? The questions lingered beyond the night, stretching into tomorrow and leaving Leo wondering just how much could change in a week. As dawn broke, illuminating the world anew, Leo braced for the next week. But would it bring hope or disappointment? Time would tell. Mr. Thompson spent the next few days in a whirlwind of emotions. The moment he felt the crowd's energy fueled him, igniting a spark he never knew had dimmed. Yet, he also faced deep-rooted doubts. Was he equipped to lead this transformation? The walls of his corporate office felt even more suffocating now, surrounded by the same sterile decor that once comforted him. He immersed himself in plans for the resource hub, tearing through spreadsheets and proposals, a mix of urgency and anxiety driving him forward. Each keystroke felt like a step taken towards redemption, but he found himself haunted by Leo's wide, hopeful eyes. Meanwhile, Leo struggled with the reality of living in a tent with his sister. Emma relied on him now more than ever. Every night, she would drift off to sleep, her tiny frame curled up tightly under layers of borrowed blankets. Leo took comfort in knowing she still found the light in little things: a kind word from strangers, an extra slice of bread. But once the buzz of that evening faded, uncertainty crept back in. Would Mr. Thompson keep his word? He had seen too many people promise change only to let it slip away. The night before the meeting, Leo gathered his thoughts. He stared at the makeshift wall of their tent, wondering aloud, what if I prepare something to say? Emma stirred slightly but murmured sweetly back to him, you'll find the right words, Leo. Her sleepy faith filled him with determination. As dawn approached, the streets began to awaken with a soft hum, the air brushed with a hint of possibility. Leo put on his worn but clean jacket, glancing at Emma as she sat up, yawning. "Are you ready, boy?" she asked with an innocent smile that made his heart swell. "Ready," he replied, even though his stomach flipped with nerves. They walked through the city hand in hand, their feet finding the familiar patterns of cracked pavement leading to the community center where the meeting would take place. When they arrived, Leo noticed a diverse crowd gathering. Families, the elderly, and even some teenagers filled the area, all eager for change. Mr. Thompson stood off to the side, reviewing notes, his brow creased with focus. A microphone sat waiting at the front of the room. The energy was palpable, a heartbeat sinking in anticipation. Leo felt a tap on his shoulder. "You're going up there, right?" It was Sophia, a girl from school who had always been kind, but he hadn't expected her to show up. I don't know," he stammered, glancing back at the businessmen. "Simon. You've got this," she encouraged, her eyes bright with confidence. With a nod, Leo stepped closer to the front, each step ignited by the heartbeat of the community behind him. The familiar trepidation clutched his chest, but he couldn't back away now. He spotted Emma smiling, nodding encouragingly as he approached the microphone. Hi everyone," Leo started, voice steady but soft. "I just wanted to say we need this change. We can't keep waiting for help that might never come. We need to fight together." His heart raced, but he could see Mr. Thompson's head nodding, more engaged than Leo hoped. The whispers in the crowd amplified his courage. "People like us, we can come together, share what we have, and make things better for everyone, just like Mr. Thompson said." Cheers erupted in the room, the sound warm and energizing. Leo glanced at Mr. Thompson, whose eyes conveyed a mix of pride and determination. Perhaps this was more than just another meeting. But as the applause faded, doubt briefly returned. Would his words matter? Leo's heart thudded loudly. He fought the fluttering uncertainty like it was a weight on his chest. He wondered if this new beginning meant he would have to battle more than his former fears and if they were ready to fight for one another. Together, he whispered under his breath, feeling the community's pulse thrum beneath him. What if they truly understood the opportunity pooled in front of them? Would they seize it? Would they believe? And all it took was one voice to ignite something grand. As the cheers faded, Leo's mind raced with one question: would the next moment change everything they ever knew? When the applause finally settled, Leo could feel the weight of the moment press on him like a heavy blanket. The microphone, surprisingly lighter in his hands, seemed to buzz with lingering energy. It was as if the room itself was urging him to continue, to dig deeper into the emotion pulsing just beneath the surface, yet as he stood there, looking into faces that had come together in hope, a flicker of doubt struck him. What if they expected too much? What if Mr. Thompson couldn't deliver? The thought gnawed at him, tightening the knot in his stomach. He scanned the faces, seeking reassurance. Many were nodding, some even wiping tears from their eyes. He hadn't just shared words, he had shared a piece of himself. Mr. Thompson took a step forward, his voice booming. Leo is right. This is just the beginning. What we initiate today will define our future. We need everyone's participation. The room erupted again, and Leo felt the moment lift him. Suddenly, he was no longer the scared boy but a part of something larger, something vital. In that fleeting moment, Leo caught Emma's gaze. Her eyes sparkled with pride, the tiny smile on her face lighting up what was otherwise a challenging life. Leo could feel his own smile breaking free, warmth spreading through his chest. But just as quickly, he felt a twinge of worry. What if it was all temporarily confusing, a brief glow in a sea of darkness? As Mr. Thompson's speech continued, Leo silently vowed he would not go back to the shadows of doubt. He leaned closer to the microphone again. With courage flaring up, he added, but it starts with us. We can't let despair drown our dreams. We have to keep this energy alive. The crowd erupted into a chorus of approval. Young and old, they were clapping, some raising their hands. An electric hum passed through the air, like a tangible force that wrapped around Leo, lifting him higher. Yet what was remarkable was not just the applause, but the faces of those in the audience. Each one bore their own tales of struggle woven together, families seeking a better future, elders yearning for a community they could contribute to, and teens searching for purpose. They were stories he wanted to know. Suddenly, from the rear, an elderly man stood up. We need to know how to help. What do we do next? He called out, his voice strident. Leo turned to Mr. Thompson, who was clearly taken aback. He stepped closer to the microphone again, adrenaline pumping. What do we do next? We listen to each other. We share our ideas. And with that, the room transformed into a thinking tank. People started calling out suggestions, enthusiasm flooding the once stagnant meeting. It was contagious. Proposals of community gardens, workshops, art classes, even a neighborhood festival to inspire hopeful connections blossomed. Leo stood central, a conduit of their creative outpourings, feeling each suggestion echo through his veins. As the ideas swirled, Leo's heart exploded with a sense of belonging he had never known. They could do this. They had the potential to uplift each other and restore dignity. But it wasn't just about the meeting. Leo's mind ventured to Emma. She needed stability, a place to call home. As if reading his thoughts, Sophia spoke up again, we could open a community center. Yes, a place to gather and grow. Everyone cheered in enthusiastic agreement. Leo could see Mr. Thompson's expression evolve. He was no longer the distant executive but a person grappling with what their plans could mean. The room settled into a slightly calmer rhythm, people discussing how this could happen. Leo's heart swelled, but exhaustion brushed against the edges of his excitement. He looked for Emma, finding her joyfully chatting with another girl nearby, their innocent laughter creating a balm of hope. Just then, Mr. Thompson cleared his throat. Everyone, he began, his tone grave but hopeful, this is only the beginning. These plans start today, and I promise. But Leo felt a surge of something urgent rising in him. Mr. Thompson, he implored, stealing the focus once more, can we promise to keep our hearts in this, too? What if we write down our dreams and fears? Can we create a wall of hope in our community? The crowd murmured, considering the suggestion, and a ripple of excitement blossomed anew. Behind it all, however, was that flicker of uncertainty. Could this truly be the change they sought? Were they ready for the roller coaster of ups and downs that came with actual transformation? As Mr. Thompson nodded, a tentative spark began to glimmer. That's a wonderful idea, Leo. Let us get started on that wall tomorrow. A wave of shared determination washed over the room, but as enthusiasm surged, Leo couldn't shake the dread clawing gently at the back of his mind. He had ignited a fire, but could it endure? In the midst of the applause, one question lingered in the air: was this community ready to face the journey ahead, together? The energy in the room pulsed with renewed vigor as conversation buzzed like a hive of bees. Ideas floated freely, bouncing from person to person. Leo stood at the center, his heart racing, caught in the whirlwind of hope and determination. The faces around him flashed with excitement, like he was watching a film reel of expressions he longed to see: inspiration, passion, and even determination written vividly in his neighbor's eyes. Can we really do this? He wondered, a tiny voice nagging at him. As the plans for the wall of hope began to crystallize, Leo couldn't help but glance back at Emma. She still wore that joyful smile, and laughter bubbled like a melody between her and her new friend. Seeing her so light-hearted chased away his doubts, if only for a moment. Sophia, bubbling with energy, started jotting down ideas on a flip chart. What if we included quotes from everyone? Words of encouragement. We can even invite kids to decorate it. Her excitement spread, and soon others chimed in, their voices overlapping like a harmonious song. Standing near the front, Mr. Thompson seemed to clear a pathway through the flurry of suggestions. Let us not just make a wall, let us make it a living thing. It can grow with us. I propose we have a monthly meeting and see how far we can take this. A cheer erupted, filling the space like warm sunlight spilling through a window. Leo felt it, too, the chance to create something extraordinary. The thought tickled the back of his mind, this was bigger than him. Their hopes intertwined like the roots of a massive tree, firmly planted yet reaching higher together, but beneath that warmth, his insecurities simmered. What if the fire they ignited burnt out quickly? Reaching for comfort, he focused on the faces around him. It was as if he could feel their questions, their fears. Everyone here was battling something, they were leaning on one another for strength. He couldn't let doubt taint their mission. Just then, a younger boy, maybe 10 or 11, stood up. His thin frame shook slightly, but his eyes glistened with something fierce. Can we really make things better? His voice was barely a whisper, almost drowned by the excitement. An unexpected hush fell over the crowd. Leo caught that boy's gaze and felt a wave of empathy wash over him. With an embarrassing tremor in his voice, Leo stepped forward. Yes. Yes, we can. It starts with our stories, our dreams. It starts with believing we're worth it. An unplanned cheer erupted from the audience, and they responded to the boy, enraptured by his bravery. Leo felt an unexpected surge of pride. He reached for the boy's shoulder, giving it a comforting squeeze. Their unspoken connection forged something deeper, something real. As conversations intensified, Leo's thoughts kept drifting back to Emma. She deserved to feel secure, to believe in change. With each passing moment, he felt the weight of that idea pressing on him. How could he help her? Not just through community efforts but personally. What would it take for them both to see brighter days ahead? The evening wore on, filled with laughter and sharing ideas about their upcoming plans. Leo felt connected but also detached, an observer grappling with that flickering fear deep inside him. Suddenly, a loud crash broke the revelry. A metal chair had collapsed from the enthusiasm of the crowd, sending two nearby women tumbling in surprise. Laughter erupted around them, drawing Leo back to the moment. When the women regained their pause, the laughter turned into applause, and Leo joined in, grateful for the reminder that joy could still be found in unexpected places. Mr. Thompson, now visibly engaged, spoke up, "All right, let us gather our ideas, and we'll set a date for our first community meeting to create that wall of hope. Who's with me?" Hands shot up eagerly, and Leo's heart raced. But just as the clamor built again, that small voice whispered again, "What if it all fell apart?" The echo of doubt taunted him. He was stepping into the unknown, a path fraught with uncertainty sitting just around the corner. He looked at Emma for reassurance, but found her eyes turned, distracted by the lively chatter around her, and as she seemed to fade from his sight for a moment, he wondered, what if, amidst their excitement, they all unknowingly slipped back into despair? What if the very hope they were trying to cultivate was just an illusion? He took a deep breath, ready to address that creeping fear when a woman in the back raised her hand. What do we do when we face setbacks? How do we keep the hope alive? A hush fell again, tension building in the air. Leo felt it like a weight. Could they face the journey together? Would they? The room held its breath, waiting for someone to respond, the tension palpable. But would he have the answer? Gazing around the room, Leo felt the weight of the question hanging over them. The flickering light above swayed slightly, almost as if chiming into the uncertain atmosphere. He shifted his weight from one foot to the other, allowing the tension to coil tighter, like a spring ready to burst. Every face looked to him, expectant, eager. Their trust felt like a fine thread woven between them. It was a moment filled with potential, and yet Leo could hear the echo of his own unanswered doubts reverberating through him. "Will I let them down?" crept into his thoughts again. Yet, a glimmer of hope echoed within the silence, urging him to speak up. Setbacks. Leo hesitated, words forming in his mind. He took another deep breath, searching for the right path through the fog of uncertainty. Setbacks are a part of any journey. They can either break us or teach us how to stand strong. A murmur rippled through the crowd. He could see their collective focus sharpening, hanging on his every word. Life's not just about the victories. It's about how we rise after we fall. As he spoke, he remembered the boy's fierce eyes, the joy that filled the room, and even Emma's hopeful spirit. He needed to believe in the dreams they were building together, a wall of hope, a testament to resilience. If we face challenges, we do it as a team. Together, we support each other. The words flowed, as if from a source beyond himself. Every stroke on that wall will not just be paint, it's our stories, our struggles. They remind us we're not alone. That every defeat can be a story of triumph, if we choose to share it. Some nodded, while others leaned in closer, the emotional pulse of the room rising again. Leo could see the small boy smiling, his earlier doubt momentarily banished. Then, an unexpected voice broke through Sophia again. What if we have a place on the wall for writing down those setbacks too? Like a reminder that even when things are hard, we grow from them? A chorus of murmurs erupted, excitement returning. Leo felt the crack in the uncertainty begin to heal. Yes. It would be a living testament, a wall that spoke of their stories in brokenness and rebuilding, of laughter shared and tears cried. As the idea took flight, Leo's heart swelled with joy. He glanced at Emma again, who was now actively engaged in discussing with a couple of friends. There was something radiant in her energy, a light that pushed away the shadows of doubt lurking near his heart. Let us not sugarcoat it, Leo continued, emboldened. We need to acknowledge our setbacks, but we also need to celebrate our victories, no matter how small. Every time someone helps another, that's a triumph. Each time we share a story, it's a win. The room erupted. Cheers rang out, filling every corner. Leo felt an intense connection with everyone present, a tapestry of shared dreams. And yet, beneath the exhilaration, a quiet question returned to him: could they keep this momentum? Could he help keep Emma lifted? What if this was just the beginning? Suddenly, someone in the back screamed out, "What about those who can't share? What about those who feel too lost?" The room quieted again, the air thick with contemplation once more. Leo felt a rush of emotions: fear, excitement, dread. There was no denying the heart still aching, still holding back. A part of him knew that mere words wouldn't solve everything. The silence stretched. Leo took a moment, his heart racing. Was he prepared to confront the deeper layers of pain? Would he find the words to assure those feeling lost that they were seen, that they mattered? And amidst the solid wall of eager faces, he could feel that familiar tremor of doubt start to rise again. But with it came the thought: sometimes, being lost can lead the way to discovery. Now, with the room holding its breath around him, Leo prepared to dive deeper. Would he summon the strength to address not just the hopes but the fears lying hidden in the corners of their hearts? He felt every eye fixed on him, waiting for his next words, and in that moment, he knew he faced another pivotal turning point. What if revealing their true fears could be the bridge they needed to truly heal? Would they dare take that leap together? Leo stood at the edge of a precipice, feeling the weight of expectation pressing down on him. As the questions hung heavily in the air, a quiet resolve began to settle within him. He looked at the faces illuminated by the soft light, each one holding a flicker of vulnerability. They needed someone to guide them through this moment of uncertainty, and he could feel a whisper in his heart urging him forward. "Those who feel lost," Leo finally spoke, his voice steadying like a rock in a stream. "They are the ones we must reach. They deserve a voice as much as anyone else." His words snapped the silence like a twig underfoot, and it felt like a door into a new space had opened. A few heads nodded thoughtfully, while others exchanged glances. Leo could sense the awakening of something deeper among them, the recognition of shared pain, the understanding that everyone had their struggles, even if they were hidden beneath surface smiles. If silence is their fortress, then we need to build a bridge, a way to connect with those trapped within it. He paused, letting the gravity of his statement sink in. We can create a space for everyone, not just for the loudest voices. The ones who struggle to speak need to know this is their wall too. A safe haven where their stories, no matter how painful, are just as significant. There was a stirring, an energy rippling through the crowd as waves of realization washed over them. Leo's pulse quickened, and he felt the power of what was unfolding. Then, he saw her, the boy who had been so quiet before, sitting with wide, uncertain eyes. But what if no one wants to hear? He asked, his voice barely audible but filled with raw honesty. Leo took a step forward, meeting the boy's gaze with intensity that could melt ice. What if we tell them it's okay to be afraid? What if our fears become the colors of our wall? We can create a foundation built on understanding, and in that, we celebrate our strengths while embracing our weaknesses. It's time we shine a light in those corners. The boy's expression softened, the doubt momentarily giving way to a flicker of hope. Leo felt emboldened. Each fear we face, each story of struggle should get a place on our wall. It's the only way we'll ever truly heal. And perhaps, just perhaps, sharing our fears might be the bravest thing we can do together. What Leo didn't expect was the reaction that followed. One by one, people began to raise their hands, tentative but resolute. It was a simple gesture, yet it felt monumental. Each hand represented someone willing to share, to bare their soul. An older woman in the back stood up. I carry so many burdens. Her voice quivered but was determined. But I want to share them. Leo could feel the air shift, an electric current running through the room. Let us create that wall together, he encouraged, his heart swelling with gratitude. Let us fill it with everything, the messy, the beautiful, the heart-wrenching, the incredible. As he spoke, he could see the shadows of anxiety beginning to lift from faces around him. They were transforming, one by one, from spectators to participants in this journey of mutual healing. Just then, a new voice, new and feisty, broke through once more. But what about those of us who have no idea where to start? I mean, how do we even express those feelings? The room grew quiet once again, curiosity piqued. Leo took a breath, his mind spinning with ideas. There was more to be done, more walls to break down and bricks to lay. He had sparked something profound, a wave of vulnerability and strength. But how would they channel that energy? What tools would they need to translate their pain into words and art? And just how transformative could their stories become for others feeling lost in their own lives? As Leo searched the crowd's eager, expectant eyes for answers, he realized that this was only the beginning of a much larger journey, and he was ready to guide them through every step of it. Would they have the courage to share their stories? Would they find the strength to express the unexpressed? The wall awaited their truths, and Leo prepared for the next phase of their adventure together, hoping they would rise to the occasion. Let us start small. Sometimes the smallest stories hold the biggest truths, Leo suggested, looking into the sea of eager faces before him. A murmur traveled through the room, excitement flickering like candles in a darkened space. People exchanged glances, their eyes sparking with the possibility of sharing. Leo could feel the weight of anticipation in the air. This was a moment that could change everything. Think of one moment, a small moment in your life that changed you. A moment when you felt lost or alone, or even a moment of joy. He paused, letting the softness of his words sink in. Each of us has a story, and sometimes we just need the right words to bring it to light. He saw a girl sitting at the front, her fingers nervously dancing on her jeans. What if it's too painful to share? She asked, her voice tinged with worry. Pain holds power, Leo replied gently. It connects us, it humanizes us. You share it at your own pace, no one rushes you here. This is a safe space. Make it your own. He noticed others nodding, encouragement blooming around him. The collective spirit began to shift. Inspired, a young man with shaggy hair stood up hesitantly, uncertainty brimming in his eyes yet overshadowed by a spark of bravery. "I guess I can go first," he said hesitantly, then took a deep breath. "Once, I lost my best friend. I didn't know how to," he paused, swallowing hard. "I didn't know how to breathe without him." The room held its breath as he fought against the sadness wrapped around his words. "I thought it would be easier to just ignore it, pretend it didn't hurt. But every memory hit me in waves, crashing when I least expected it. I learned that not dealing with it just made me angry." Leo felt a wave of compassion wash over him as the young man's honest admission unraveled the hearts of everyone in the room. It felt like a weight had been lifted, the sharing had begun. "Thank you for being brave. See how sharing that feels. You are not alone," Leo said, a smile breaking across his face. The young man returned to his seat, visibly lighter. Silence lingered for a moment, charged with emotion and possibility. Then, an older gentleman stood up, his hands shaking slightly. "I once lost my job. I thought my life was over. I didn't know how to tell my family. I felt like a failure." His chin quivered as he spoke, but the strength in his eyes grew brighter, drawing inspiration from the vulnerability surrounding him. The emotions danced in the room, raw and palpable, as stories flowed like water, carving new paths through the hardened soil of silence. One by one, they began to stand up. A woman detailed the pain of losing herself while raising her children. Another shared joys mixed with challenges of being a caregiver. The more they shared, the more the invisible walls around them crumbled, yet, Leo sensed a few faces still lingered in uncertainty, hesitant to step into this vulnerable light. He knew he wanted to reach them. "Remember," he said, letting his voice trigger warmth. "You don't need to tell a grand story. Even small moments matter. Just take a breath and share whatever feels right." Suddenly, a soft voice broke through the emotional haze. It was the boy who had been so quiet, his earlier doubt transformed into newfound courage. Can I share?" The room fell silent, watching him with supportive eyes. Leo could hardly conceal his excitement. "Yes, please. We're all ears. No judgment here." The boy stepped forward and seemed to grow taller with each word. "I feel scared sometimes. Like nobody sees me." Even in a crowded room he hesitated. "I just want to be noticed." "See?" Leo exclaimed, his heart racing with admiration. "That is a beautiful beginning. A moment we can all connect to." And with that, Leo looked around, hope igniting in his chest. This was the moment they would begin to capture their truths bare, unrefined, and impactful. But at that very moment, an unexpected noise rang from outside, rattling the windows and drawing startled glances. A commotion erupted outside, pulling their focus away from the warmth of shared struggles. "What is that?" someone whispered, tension creeping back into the room. Leo felt his heart pound. Was this a distraction or something darker? "Let us check it out together," he urged, stepping toward the door, adrenaline surging through him. Would their journey of sharing come to an abrupt halt? Would the fragile connections they were building sustain the storm that was brewing? As he reached for the handle, he wondered just what awaited them on the other side. Leo gripped the door handle, his heart racing. As he flung it open, a rush of cool air and shouts swept into the room. The once quiet hall transformed into a scene of chaos, and the warmth they had felt just moments before seemed to dissipate. Outside, a group had gathered, faces painted with concern and curiosity. "What is happening?" a woman asked, her voice trembling. Leo stepped out to see a small crowd, a mixture of young adults and older folks, all looking towards a commotion at the street corner. He followed their gaze to find a young boy, maybe 7 or 8 years old, standing bravely amidst a throng of adults. His clothes were tattered, and dirt smudged across his cheeks. In contrast to the bustling city sounds around him, his presence was a silent cry for help against the backdrop of uncertainty. "What do you need, buddy?" Leo called out, his voice cutting through the murmurs. The boy turned, his eyes wide and earnest, locking onto Leo with an intensity that held stories untold. I just want to find my mom," he said, his voice trembling but firm. "I lost her. Can you help me?" The weight of those words hit Leo like a wave, crashing through the fragile bonds of simple storytelling established moments ago. A child was lost. In that instant, the stories of heartache shared moments before seemed to pale in comparison to the urgent reality before them. "I'll help you," Leo said, stepping forward, his urgency growing. The boy's face softened, hope flickering in his eyes as he turned back to the group, gauging their reactions. "Everyone. We need to help him. Let us figure out where his mom might be. Something like this can't wait." The tension in the crowd began to shift, transforming into a collective sense of purpose. People looked at each other, determination written across their faces. Leo felt the energy surge around him, a mixture of compassion and responsibility. They were no longer just individual stories, they were part of a shared mission. "Does anyone know where the local shelters are?" a man shouted. "Maybe his mom is looking for him there." Leo felt a hand on his shoulder. It was the quiet boy from before, now standing tall and proud. "I can help too," he said, his eyes shining with bravery. "I grew up in the neighborhood. I know where to look." "Then let us go," Leo encouraged, rallying the group. The stories they had begun to share were now taking a backseat to something much greater, the chance to show that together, they could make a difference. As they set off, the young boy led the way, navigating streets like a young captain guiding his ship. Leo followed closely, keeping the momentum fueled by purpose. They had shifted from vulnerability to action, and he couldn't help but wonder how one young boy's plea had turned a room full of strangers into a team ready to brave the storm. With each step, they called out for the lost mother, voices ringing through the air, each shout laced with the hope for reunion. Leo glanced back at the crowd, their faces illuminated by determination. He could feel the bonds forming, stitched together by urgency and empathy, and it amazed him how quickly things changed. But as they rounded a corner, a chilling thought struck him. What if they couldn't find her? What if this journey didn't lead to closure but heartbreak? The weight of that thought pressed heavily in his chest, threatening to overshadow the hope they had built. Leo clenched his jaw, pushing that fear aside. They had to believe. They had to keep searching. With the streets bustling around them, a flickering question remained on the breeze. Who would they find waiting for them, and what would they discover about themselves in the process? The search for the young boy's mother turned into a heartfelt odyssey through the streets of Detroit. Leo led the way, courage bubbling as he called out, urging the crowd to engage. "We're here to help." With every shout, the voices swelled, and a newfound unity swirled around them like the gentle spring breeze. As they traversed the familiar neighborhoods, Leo felt the tension in his chest lessen. Maybe this wasn't just a rescue mission. Maybe it was about becoming something greater, a community woven together by compassion. The ripped seams of their struggles were starting to mend under the shared purpose. "Over there," a woman shouted, pointing towards a corner where a group of people had gathered. Leo's heart raced as he rushed towards them, hope echoing in his chest. As they approached, Leo caught sight of a frantic woman, her eyes wide with alarm and despair. "Have you seen him?" she cried, her voice cracking. That deep well of anxiety was etched on her face, telling Leo all that he needed to know. She was lost without her son. "Are you his mom?" Leo called out, stepping forward, desperation thrumming in his veins. "We're helping him find you." The woman's gaze ignited with recognition, confusion, and relief all intertwining. Yes. Yes, I'm his mom." Her voice trembled, and she bolted toward him, almost crashing into Leo as he pointed towards the small boy, who stood waiting, his little heart hammering with anticipation. With trembling hands, they reunited, emotions cascading off them both as she held her boy tightly, her tears falling onto his small shoulders, blending into the joy and relief of their reunion. "Thank you. Thank you so much," she exclaimed, hugging Leo with fierce gratitude. Around them, the gathering crowd erupted into applause. A wave of warmth flooded through Leo, filling him with an incredible sense of purpose. They had done something meaningful. They had turned the tide of that fragile moment into something profound. As the mother knelt down, showering her son with affection, Leo couldn't help but glance back at the others. The quiet boy who had first called out for help now stood beaming in the crowd, visibly proud of his contribution. Their eyes locked, and Leo felt an unspoken understanding bloom between them. Together, they defaced their fears, shared their stories, and found strength in the vulnerability of their very human experience. Mr. Thompson approached, his presence commanding yet softened by the gratitude expressed around. This is what we can accomplish together," he said, disarmed by the moment. "I promise this isn't just a fluke, it's a new beginning for each one of us." The words resonated with everyone present. Leo could see the realization spreading. They had not only brought a mother and son back together, they had sparked a light in themselves, a shared sense of responsibility that went beyond any single story or individual struggle. With the crowd's admiration igniting a fire in his belly, Leo stepped back to the forefront. The momentum felt like a tidal wave, but he wanted to channel it into something sustainable. "This is our moment," he called out, his voice steady and sincere. "We can create a community where everyone feels seen, and no one feels lost. Let us keep this spirit alive." Cheers erupted once more, the sound ringing through the streets like music. People started to chatter among themselves, vibrating with fresh ideas, excited about the possibilities that existed within their community. As they all headed back, Leo felt a pull in his heart. It was not just about them anymore, they were bound by a common vision, weaving dreams together like a tapestry. A wall of hope would soon stand tall, but now it was more than just a wall, it symbolized shared journeys, struggles embraced, and futures reclaimed. Back at the community center, the atmosphere was electric. Faces illuminated by excitement, kids running around laughing, the noise and bustle echoed camaraderie. Leo's heart swelled at the transformation. Real connections were being made, and change no longer felt distant, it was a palpable reality coming to life, and it was in that moment the full circle played out. Leo spotted Emma, her laughter ringing bright as she engaged with the other children. She looked happy, like a brilliant sun breaking through the clouds, and he realized what he had fought for was more than just help, it was the freedom for both of them. "Thanks for believing, Emma," he whispered, grateful and full of reverence for the light she carried. With a renewed sense of hope, Leo understood. They would face more challenges, but together, they would support each other through every setback and triumph. The wall of hope, a metaphor for their lives, would flourish with stories, fearlessly painted in vibrant colors of resilience, unity, and love. As the day wound down, Leo smiled, eyes on the horizon. The fragility of their journey was stitched with vibrant threads of truth, woven together from heartfelt connections. They would rise together, united, tenacious, and ready to face whatever came next, and as the final applause faded, Leo felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. This was just the beginning, a moment to reinforce the truth that everyone is deserving of hope, love, and togetherness. Our heroes had emerged, and as their stories intertwined, they forged a fellowship that illuminated even the darkest corners of their lives. Now, let your voice be heard, too. You need to subscribe now to stay connected for more incredible stories that inspire change. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like immediately to feed the energy of transformation, comment below your reactions and feelings about this inspiring journey, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this heartwarming change.